Welcome forward to Chapter 6, Attack and Fear, page 52. Judas was my brother and a son of God, as much a part of the sonship as myself. Was it likely that I would condemn him when I was ready to demonstrate that condemnation is impossible? I am very grateful to the apostles for their teaching and fully aware of the extent of their devotion to me. Nevertheless, as you read their teachings, remember that I told them myself that there was much that they would understand later because they were not wholly ready to follow me at any time. I emphasize this only because I do not want you to allow any fear to enter into the thought system toward which I am guiding you. I do not call for martyrs, but for teachers. No one is punished for sins, and the sons of God are not sinners. Any concept of punishment involves the projection of blame and reinforces the idea that blame is justified. The behavior that results is a lesson in blame, just as all behaviors teaches the belief which motivates it. The crucifixion was a complex of behaviors arising out of clearly opposed thought systems. As such, it was the perfect symbol of conflict between ego and the Son of God. The conflict is just as real now, and its lessons, too, have equal reality when they are learned. I do not need gratitude any more than I need protection, but you need to develop your weakened ability to be grateful, or you cannot appreciate God. He does not need your appreciation, but you do. You cannot love what you do not appreciate, and fear makes appreciation impossible. Whenever you are afraid of what you are to do not appreciate it, and you will therefore reject it. As a result, you will teach rejection. The power of the sons of God is operating all the time because they were created as creators. Their influence on each other is without limit and must be used for their joint salvation. Each one must learn to teach that all forms of rejection are utterly meaningless. The separation is the notion of rejection. As long as you teach this, you still believe it. This is not as God thinks, and you must think as He thinks if you are to know Him again. The use of projection. Any split in will must involve a rejection of part of it, and this is the belief in separation. The wholeness of God, which is His peace, cannot be appreciated except by a whole mind, which recognizes the wholeness of God's creation, and by this recognition knows its Creator. Exclusion and separation are symptoms or synonymous, as are separations and disassociations. We have said before that the separation was and is disassociation, and always that, once it had occurred, projection became its main defense, or the device that keeps it going. The reason, however, may not be as clear as you think. In the ego's use of projection, to which we are obviously referring, which you project your disown, and therefore do not believe it is yours. You are excluding yourself by the very statement you are making that you are different from the one on whom you project, since you have also judged against what you project. You continue to attack it because you have already attacked it by projecting it. By doing this unconsciously, you try to keep the fact that you must have attacked yourself first out of awareness, and thus imagine that you have made yourself safe. Projection will always hurt you. It reinforces your belief in your own split mind, and its only purpose is to keep the separation going. It is solely a device of the ego to make you feel differently from your brothers and separated from them. The ego justifies this on the holy, purest ground that it makes you seem better than they are, thus obscuring your equality with them still further. Projection and attack are inevitably related because projection is always a means of justifying attack. Anger without projection is impossible. The ego uses projection only to distort your perception both of yourself and your brothers. This process begins by excluding something that exists in you which you do not want, and leads directly to excluding you from your brothers. We have learned, however, that there is another use for projection. Every ability of the ego has a better counterpart because its abilities are directed by the mind, which has a better voice. The Holy Spirit, as well as the ego, utilizes projection, but since their goals are opposed, so is the result. The Holy Spirit begins by perceiving you as perfect. Knowing this perfection is shared, he recognizes it in others, thus strengthens it in both. Instead of anger that arises, Instead of anger, this arouses love for both because it establishes inclusion. Perceiving equality, the Holy Spirit perceives equal needs. This invites atonement automatically because atonement is the one need which in the world is universal. To perceive yourself this way is the only way in which you will find happiness in the world. This is because it is the acknowledgement that you are not in this world, for the world is unhappy. How else can you find joy in a joyless place except by realizing that you are not there? You cannot be anywhere that God did not put you, and God created you as a part of Him. This is where you are and what you are. It is completely unalterable. It is a total inclusion. You cannot change it now or ever. It is forever true. It is not a belief, but a fact. Anything that God created is as true as He is. Its truth lies only in its perfect inclusion in Him who alone is perfect. To deny this in any way is to deny yourself and Him, since it is impossible to accept one without the other. And thus concludes page 50.